pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Palaca Public Schools is a symbol of excellence with state-of-the-art facilities and customized educational programs and opportunities to meet the needs, desires, and attributes of each student. At this time, I've reviewed and approved the agenda as presented, and we'll have a reorganization of the board with Samantha stepping down from the chair. Are there any nominations for board chair? Are there other nominations for chair? Thanks. Call for a vote. All those in favor of Lisa for chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. This. Are there nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Mike as vice chair.
Are there any other nominations? All those in favor of Mike for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each agenda item. And just a reminder that student names cannot be stated during the meeting. Is there any public comment? Public comment?
You need to read the one from last meeting.
Yes, thanks.
You don't have to.
Oh, don't have to. Thanks. Any public comment? Okay, recognition and reports. Recognition and report.
Oh, so
I guess-
our first up is student class report from our kindergartners and our first graders who are here virtually with us. I'll turn it over to Mrs. Fry and Ms. Swag. Yeah.
Marissa and I started working on a PowerPoint, and then we saw that Mr. Montemayorez had a wonderful presentation to his parents during parent-teacher conferences, and we said, oh, can we do that? And he's like, I can do that for you. And we're like, yes. So the pictures that you will see today are a variety of photos that we've taken all through the year, from everything from math games to measuring pumpkins to cheering at the pep rally where we won first prize as a group, yeah. To the songs that we do every day to practice our different skills, to vowels, to practice of reading. You'll just see that our days are busy, really, really busy, but they're fun.
I just
Looks fun. Thank you. Any trustee reports? December 10th is our next board meeting. State and federal educational issues, policy 1135. Mr. Capty, do you want to do the superintendent report?
Sure. Lots of good things to talk about. So it seems like forever since our last board meeting. So it just seems like I've seen you guys, but not at a board meeting. But so since the last board meeting, we had the reading under the lights, and had a great turnout for that. We had night at the museum on November 4th, and today we actually got an email. We were looking for an address from the author to send some of the classes. Wanted to send a thank you for her because she spent all day in the classes with students talking about lots of different things from at the little levels, talking about just like dinosaurs and fun things, and then at the seventh grade level, they were asking her like real specific questions about being an author and different things. But she actually sent an email back with her address, and she said at the museum it was really awesome. But when it was time to get their books, and they started chanting, "Books, books, books," that's the best chant ever. So good stuff. Kids getting excited about learning, all of those kind of fun things is pretty awesome. Gets me pretty excited that we're getting kids as excited about that stuff as we are at sports. Chamber of Commerce Christmas stroll is coming up on December 5th. They have adapted. I've touched on this. Burlington Northern Santa Fe donated $1,250. They covered the full cost of all the books for every family to have a book. With that, we also have some other added Polar Express things for the kids and families on that day. The chamber has changed or built the theme around that book, and so the whole theme for the holiday stroll is the Polar Express. Now, we will be reading from 5 to 6 in 15 minutes increments. We are going to build one of the buses or decorate one of the buses to be like the train engine in the train car in the Polar Express. We're still looking for volunteers to help with either reading or decorating or any of those things. The chamber is actually asking for anybody that wants to, from businesses to ranches to anything that wants to have something set up on Main Street or around there, that they can do that. If somebody has, I don't know, a wagon, wants to, if we have snow, we could have a sleigh, but keep that in mind. So that's on our side, that will be pretty exciting. We're excited about that. Another opportunity to get kids, families connected to books and make it a fun night. So I sent out a survey at quarter, a couple days after quarter. So if you turn back a couple pages, you'll see that. Survey results, pretty basic questions. I sent it out. So just a general classification so we knew whether it was certified or classified, how they felt the year was going. I feel like there's a lot of positives, but with the positives, there's lots of things to grow for all of us. When you look at that first question, the overall rating for the year, how's it going so far? 5 being the best, 1 being a miserable year. We're on the top of the hill positive, so that's a good thing. But those 3 were kind of in the middle, and maybe we need some more there. But do you feel valued and appreciated at school? The majority says yes, but there's still some that we're not there yet. And that's a wide open question. So do you feel appreciated at school? We get a little more narrow in some of the other questions, but I mean, that kind of encompasses, all of us, myself, the community, parents, different things, and potentially just public. I mean, as far as national too. That was a broad question for a reason. Do you feel appreciated by your fellow staff members? Predominantly, yes. Couple pieces of that puzzle that give me some things to keep working on to make sure we don't have anybody left out. But the majority of that was on the positive side. Overall rating of the staff was good. Do you feel appreciated by superintendent? There again, the majority is there, but there's some work to be done. Do you feel appreciated by the board of trustees? Kind of a mix there. Again, the majority is positive, but we have work to be done. Do you feel appreciated by the community and parents? Generally, yes. So it gives us a snapshot to kind of keep thinking as we go through the rest of the year. I gave an open mic question on the end of that just said, what are some things we can work on and those things. And I can share that, but as far as just a general summary, that was there. So it gives us, on my side personally, thinking about how do we acknowledge staff, how do we do little things, because everything can't be a major, you're not gonna buy everybody a dinner kind of thing, but just every time we have a chance to continue to build that support, find those ways, it's good. Simple notes or whatnot. I think it's a good piece for us now as we head into after third quarter. I will send that out to our staff again just to see kind of, especially third quarter, you're getting through the doldrums of February and March and where we all feel and how we're doing on that. Next up on there for me, I had a chance, so I went to MCEL and I had a chance to attend a couple different things. Lots of conversations about legalities and that kind of fun stuff. Conversations about school to work, how, and you can call that a lot of different things, but what does proficiency-based education look like when you are really connecting kids to community and opportunities as they move from, starting earlier with elementary and then getting them into internships and those things when they're in their junior and senior year. Some schools doing some really good things across the state. So some ways that they've attacked the law on the proficiency-based model, and so that was really helpful. The Aurora Institute was, I had a free invite to that, and so it was an amazing opportunity to see schools around the country. But it was heavily focused on that same model proficiency, which is we look at where we go with probably the most exciting thing was there was actually a principal from a superintendent from Wyoming, from Upton, and school very comparable to our size. I mean, when you look at our high school, our junior high, very comparable. And they offered 77 classes. You have 74 kids and you offer 77 classes. Interesting, I mean, how they did all that, not that that's our target, but they definitely did not allow themselves to fall into the trap of we're a small school and we can't offer this or this or this because we're a small school. So, and a reasonably close resource that we can steal ideas from in ways to make that happen when we think about what classes we don't offer. When we go back to our mission about being individualized, we have to find ways to meet our kids where they need to be with that stuff. Legislative meet and greet. I have a response from our senator changed, and so they're working with him. But we are going to have our representatives for the state of Montana, for the state legislature, come down before the first of the year. We're trying to lock them down just to do a meet and greet, essentially to visit with our elected officials. So we're essentially no different than they are. You're elected, they're elected. But then and to hear what our concerns are about education, as well as our county commissioners, and that, just to put us in a spot so if you are emailing them to voice support or concerns, they can put some names and faces with that as well. We're unique in the way our House and Senate is set up in Montana, that our local representative really isn't local. Most states, if you look at our county, would have a senator. Our house, we'd only have one House member because we're pretty small. But where we have our senator for this area covers a wide swath of. There's a lot of different things. I mean, if you take Miles City and Glendive compared to us, we have similar needs, but there's definitely some things that they need to consider and think about. Be able to hear from you on that. Following that, the legislative day that we were advised to be in Helena is March 10th. So we actually reserved some rooms. We can cancel those. But I wanted to be out as far in front of that as we could. When I say they, the School Boards Association, the Principals Association, and the Superintendents Association said that's our time to have good conversations with that. They also highlighted, we'll talk about it when we get closer, who can and wants to be there, that it's very important to not lose sight of that you're all elected. And at that conversation as well, we're not lower than the people that you're an elected person representing our community. They're a representative representing the state, but you're on equal playing field to have that conversation with them. Say, this is a concern, and as an elected, I have to answer to people that elected me, who in turn played a role in electing you. So we'll talk more about that, but I want that on your calendars to be thinking about possible to be there. It's off the top of my head, I want to say it's a Monday. I think it would allow us to travel on a Sunday and come back on a Tuesday as well. Just looked at the October meeting just a second ago. It had 119 views, so that's a good thing. But let's be clear, that's 119 views. That doesn't mean 119 people watched it from start to finish. They might have went to the park they wanted to see. They might have turned it on and watched it for a few minutes. I'm going to go watch Yellowstone or something else. I mean, But it is definitely getting some traction, and people have came back to it and said, well, I saw it on this, and I'm like, okay, well, that's a positive thing. Twice this month, sat with the county commissioners. First conversation was about the hospital and the building there and what they're going to do with that. Just basically to hear what the public comment was and to express that, because they're a three-person group that's going to choose. We don't, once it's at this point, they're going to choose what they do with that hospital. And so talk to them about the daycare, how the daycare runs here, that there's still a bigger need for daycare providers. And as looking at the hospital, looking at the age of not the hospital, looking at the age of the courthouse as they start to retire and look to hire people, there's a very high likelihood that some of those will have kids. If they're younger and they have younger kids, that we at this point can't even house our own staff's kids. We have 2 babies that will be in limbo because there's not enough room. So there's still a need for that, and the county needs to be aware of that. And so they were pretty thoughtful about some different things, but they were very open to that conversation. But it was a great door opening because we went back specifically on their agenda to talk about the quality educator payments for the state. And so quality educator payments is we don't receive any of those at the moment. That is the funding adjustment that the state put in 2 years ago, and it allowed you to, if every teacher was at this minimum salary, then you got X number of dollars for the next 3 years. It did not apply to anybody that was on an emergency license, nor did it apply to principals, superintendents, any of that. So they are working to adjust that with bipartisan support, and they are going to adjust it to it's going to be one of the main platforms of how they fund schools going forward. So with that being said, they're going to double the quality educator payment. So it'll be to the tune of almost $7,000 per teacher and business manager, because that's also a hard to fill position. So we would get a quality educator payment for every one of our teachers, whether they're on an emergency license or not. We'd also get quality educator payment for myself. We get a quality educator payment for Brittany. We get all of those things from the state, and there is no exit date on it. So that would, unless the legislature went in and did away with it totally, and then they'd be kind of caught in their own mess. So that is one of the main pillars that they're going to use to fund public schools moving forward. The challenge is we're not at that point. We're not in the playing field. And so I went to the county commissioners and said, well, I'll back up. At the first county commissioner meeting, they said their main two pillars are to provide quality education, help that there's quality education in our county, and that there is medical for healthcare and those things. Which I was like, that's good to know. In the second part of that conversation, when we talked about that, the only way we're probably going to get into the race, get to the starting line, is if we have some help. Okay. And so as we move through the legislative session, as we move through the inter-base bargaining, those things, but we can get there and we can manage our budget if we could get to that minimum salary, which is about $41,000. The only way we're going to probably get there is if the county helps us. And so at that meeting also, I had Tracy Walker with me, and we looked at kind of a narrow number, but kind of broke down the number, and it would be about $60,000 to get the country schools and us to that point. So it would be a $60,000 potential injection into our budget to make that happen, as well as into the country schools to move their teachers up to that point. But as you all are aware, and as I expressed to the county commissioners, we I don't know how many teaching openings we may or may not have next year, but it's not going to get easier to really find qualified people or recruit people to stay if we aren't competitive. So there are certain things we can't compete with. We can't really compete with Baker. They're sitting on different amount of oil money. They're sitting on using that for different things, for teacher housing, all those pieces. Broadus is providing a prorated teacher housing, different situation there as well. But if we can, I mean, our community can sell itself, but we got to be competitive in the salary piece of this. And so went to them. They were very positive, asked really good questions that were very positive, and we're very happy to be kept in the loop in part of this discussion. And so just to make sure we're all part of that loop, there are some unknowns coming at us. Those things could be that quality educator payment could go down, it could go up as far as when they finalize it, but the fact it has bipartisan support gives us a fair chance that it will go through at some level greater than it was at initially. So that's a good thing, and we'll see where that goes from there. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So is that 60,000, is that what would cover all the schools in the county
Correct.
together?
Correct.
Okay.
And I believe two of the three country school teachers are not at that level, but one of the three is at that level. Because it doesn't actually care what your salary matrix is. It only cares that every teacher is at that point. So it's kind of wonky in the way they do it. But I mean, for us, we would probably look at because we obviously have more teachers, we would look at our salary schedule and trying to set that as the baseline. Here is the good, the bad, the ugly, and the conversation I've had with the staff as well about it, just letting them know, trying to get that information out in front of them. It's to get there, it would provide more money for every teacher. The challenge, the ultimate challenge is, and absolutely understood, is that it wouldn't provide the same amount of money for every teacher. And so if you think about that just in your own, if you have a teacher that is relatively new, hasn't been teaching for very long, or has just starting teaching, and they're at $33,000, okay? To get them there, you're looking at, depending on 33, whatever, but you're looking at $7,000 to $8,000 to get them up at that point. If you have a teacher that's making, let's say they're making 40, at that, if they're making 48 and they get a $3,000 raise as a result of that quality educator payment, that's a good thing. But it's not the same. And so that's a conversation we need to have, that I really want us to be aware and be thinking about it and asking questions and truly paying attention to how the legislative session goes with this. This is a big piece, because they will not really do anything else major for funding for another till the next legislative session when they're due their biennium study or whatnot. So this is a pretty significant for us to help us, or help us. Other questions about that? Backpack program. So we applied. Brittany and I sat down and went through. There was a grant to provide meals for kids over the weekends, and so it is through the Town Pump gas station across Montana, which is really, really good. So the good news, bad news, we wrote that grant. We wrote that grant for $20,000 to account for all the bags, all the people, all of that. We got the grant. $20,000. We got it for $7,500. So we went back and said, okay, what can we do? How can we do this? What can we make work? How do we do this? And so we got Summit National Bank is going to donate all the bags, which isn't a huge deal, but you have to have a way to provide the food to kids. By the time we go through all the hoop jumping to get our paperwork filled, which we have, our first shipment won't arrive till December. And so we will send home food on December before kids leave for Christmas. But then after that, we will start after the year. So we've cut essentially almost half the year out of that. So with the way we have it budgeted, we will not only will we be able to cover us through the year to pay for meals for students families that need that. That we also have a little bit extra, and that we were able to buy 6 turkey dinners that we will provide to families for Thanksgiving that need that extra little help for us. So we've had to work with the food bank, not have to, we got to work with the food bank because it all goes through the food bank. And so we've been working with Trish to get that set up. But part of our in writing that is, you see backpack programs when you school as a 5-day week is one thing because you have 2 days, but when you have a 4-day week, it is different. And you just don't know. And so you're creating an extra day where kids are, they're missing out on those opportunities to get at least some food or nourishment in that. So it'll give us a good idea, because part of the program is the kids that are families that are on free and reduced will qualify, and then they have a chance to opt out. And so we all know that there's families that don't need that may qualify, and that's fine. But as the year goes on, we're going to know kind of who our families are that need that extra for whatever is going on at that point, just to kind of get them over the hump, and hopefully, make sure our kids are coming to school with nourishment, those kind of things. So we were pretty excited about that, even though we didn't get the full piece for that. And then,
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
So is this for just this year?
it is.
Okay. So do you apply for this grant every year then?
So we can, and they actually build it in there that we can, but they also, the hard part for us is we weren't sure 100% what our need was. We knew there was a need. I mean, we can self-identify some families that we just know, but we don't know if that's 10, it's 20, if it's 5. And so what do we need to make that happen? It could be a community organization. It could be outside the school. But if it's 30, then we have to, we'd apply, reapply, and see what other opportunities we can create for those families. Okay, Montana, the Montana Advanced Opportunity Grant. I am at a loss for what that one was. We'll see it we'll talk about that at the end. But then I will jump in here and just touch on, I'm skipping out of order because I have it in front of me. We had the daycare committee meeting. And so in that survey that we sent out to staff, one of the comments that came up, there was a couple comments about the daycare. And so about how it's funded and some of the items in our receipts on the month-to-month. And so I had a meeting for all the staff that wanted to be there to talk to Brittany so that they understood the difference between, like, if something's in miscellaneous, if something's in, so as we spent out the grant money, and then as that money was coming in, where the other money is, just so they could understand that there is no hiding of the finances for the daycare. And the grant allowed us to start the daycare, allowed us to get all the pieces in place so that we didn't have that startup cost. And now the money coming in essentially has to pay for the daycare without worrying about remodeling a room or putting in toys or doing any of those kind of things. And so just kind of trying to make sure that as transparent as we could be, that they know, because very quickly that's how rumors and misinformation get spread. And so just trying to make sure that there was an understanding of that. We talked through that money, the money that was made over the last few years has been saved, so that there's a reserve fund for the daycare to absorb cost as they need to when, say, kids get sick, because we've had a couple different bouts where kids get sick. So we don't have to shut the daycare down. It's not literally ran day to day based on is there enough money coming in to pay the bills. We have 4 good weeks, 1 really bad week, but so we have that money set there. And then talked about the grant has funded the daycare during the summer. And as we come out of the new year into the spring, that will be a conversation we will have about whether the daycare is open during the summer, because it would not pay for it would not pay for itself to be open during the summer. So whether that looks at different rates or if there's other options, that's a conversation we'll have at that point. So that's oh yeah, the last piece. It's not on there, but I will tell you just because I won't see you before we'll have another board meeting. Well, we do have a field trip planned. Our staff is working hard on getting kids out and about and learning different things. We've got lots of trips to the museum. Our fourth, fifth, and sixth grade went to a buffalo corral or jump and got to experience some of that. The cool part about that was after that was posted, we had community members coming saying, hey, they should come out here. We had the Bison Ranch coming, hey, why didn't you bring them out here? I'm like, well, there's spring. We'll worry about it. But communities looking for ways to get involved with us. And so that's pretty exciting. We're working with Hewlett to do our 7th and 8th grade is going to Hewlett for the day and meet with their 7th and 8th grade and go to Devil's Tower. And we're working out all the details of what science and math, different pieces of that. Then we'll stop there. We'll eat lunch with them as well. We're going to at least hopefully pick up one because I have an email on in my computer right now. One of our country school 7th and 8th graders is going to be joining us as well. We're working to get any of the other ones that want to. One of your relatives is going to be joining us. So we're pretty excited about that. Then the next day, I'll use a football mentality here, but it's like a home and home game series. We're going down there. They're providing us lunch. We're going to do this activity with them. Then they're coming here on Tuesday, the 26th, and they will be going to, and we will be going with them out to Medicine Rocks, and the museum will be helping us with all of that. And then they're going to go to the museum. They will eat lunch with us. So again, trying to leverage our opportunities within a reasonable radius for our kids' opportunities to learn, meet people, but different jobs, different things, all of that. So pretty cost-effective way to go on a field trip and get a chance to learn about some of the things that maybe they wouldn't get to otherwise. So
What's the date of Devil's Tower?
it is the Monday of Thanksgiving, so the 25th, and then the 26th. And just being as blunt as possible, we have there's from our early release days to some of the wacky weeks we have, that's a disrupted week anyway. So we're like, if it's going to be disrupted, can we do something else in there as well? I don't know if that's before our next board meeting. On the 9th of December is our early release day. Our high school kids will all be going to the hospital. They're going to go through 10 different jobs at the hospital and look at all of that to kind of get some exploration. So hospital's been planning that. And so just another good opportunity for our kids to see and understand what's out there.
But the Christmas really make content shown next string groups. That is my opinion.
Okay.
They're usually game.
Okay.
Is that all you have?
Yeah. Maybe we should have meetings every 2 weeks. Then I wouldn't have. No, just
Oh,
kidding.
boy. Department has guidance.
And I don't know where. So we had our first Breakfast with Besties award. MAPS testing has gone through. We're in the process of mass testing right now, and so that finishes at the end of this week. And so it's kind of interesting. It takes a week. So we tested last week, but that information isn't available yet. Instead of updating every 7 days. And so, because they send us an email saying, when are you going to start the test? And we're like, we've already started. They're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't update. So that's been going. We had parent-teacher conferences, something to consider. I mean, we had our kindergarten and first grade had amazing, like almost 100% attendance. High school had almost like not 100%. So how do we maximize those days? Is it accomplishing what it wants? And maybe it looks different for the high school, junior high than it does for the elementaries. But something we need to be thinking about. Is it accomplishing what we want it to do there? Counseling this month has been focused on safety. And then November was for gratitude, so it's kindness and compassion. And I'll just keep going into that, Director. So high school football wrapped up. The season along with junior high volleyball. We did send out to all the parents and as well as all the students. They all got a general survey to give us some feedback on just thoughts about how the season. So we have some information from parents and we have some information and kids. The ADs have been working hard to build kind of that growth mindset, that or growth model evaluation for our coaches, that it's not just based on wins and losses, and we're taking kind of all those pieces into play to think about. And when we're looking at the next year, that coaches are given an opportunity to kind of build their goals for the next year, kind of off of, some of the things that have happened, some of that feedback year to year, and they can continue to grow. Volleyball, we put this out. Some of these things had to go in before, but they lost out in volleyball. The volleyball season's over. Junior high basketball is underway, and it's like quickly almost at the end of junior high basketball. Our last home game is this weekend. Saturday is our last home game against Broadus. And then the next weekend is our junior high tournaments. And then head into high school basketball starts on the 21st. Calendars are all posted. Had a great meeting with the basketball coaches today. Got some fun things planned for basketball season. So as far as ways to not change the game, they're doing the game stuff, but the ADs have been tasked with how do we get people to come to the games. So we've created some pretty fun opportunities for, like pie in the face of a board member night. We're not doing
Slides. I was in Baker today, and somebody from Baker was down at the games this weekend, and they said, "Do you always have that many people for junior high games?" And I said, "They're usually pretty full."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I it's exciting that many
It
people
is.
come out.
It is, and that momentum builds on top of itself. We will be posting the high school assistant track position. Mr. Montemaris has decided that he does not want to coach this year, so we will be posting that as well.
Maintenance.
Boy, I'm ready for you, Branson, because transportation's next. So Yeah, the lights are on, and yeah, he's been working on a lot of different things. They're working on finishing the fence. We all the fencing and all the materials, and we pre-budgeted his hours the best we could. To there, we have to fence off the propane tanks and the generator for the littles as far as to let them out. And so we built the sunshade structure, and the fence is almost done. And so that's a good thing. Yeah, the fibs have been put out, and he used some of his vacation days. So that's where we are. I'm going to hand it off to Branson.
We'll note that some of this is overstated just because we wrote these on generally October 28th, because the agenda and the board agenda comes out a little early.
And we were worried about a baby being born, and we didn't want to be like, no.
Just all those things. So transportation, things are working. That's basically the summary of that one. We're looking forward to the fall sports ramping up. Technology, I mostly just have some fun stuff with about 3 people watching. Our headphones so far is setting. So, the audio seems a little bit better at this point. So I get a report that tells me how many emails we sent over the past week. Because part of that report is also telling me how many failure attempts there were, or phishing attempts or different things like that. And it tells me that we send about 1,000 emails a week, which doesn't actually include internal emails. So like we need Mr. Cap to hear back, which is good because I probably get about 100 a day just from different equipment that tells me, yeah, I worked today. But that's about what we send. My firewall gets about 70,000 attack attempts on it a day that I block. And that's because I block whole countries and regions. And that's actually down a little bit from earlier, so I don't know what's happened there. A significant portion are around Asia. But all it is it says, hey, is this random number open? Is this hole open? Is that one? And it's just constantly just pinging back and forth to see. And our network is doing quite well. Talking to the report a little bit about how quite a long time ago we talked about, okay, eventually we're going to get to 1 device per person on our school network. It's like way back when I was hired, we had 4 access points, and they were just off the shelf network that you get from Walmart. And now we're, especially in the high school, we've got 1 in basically every room because wireless does not penetrate brick very well at all. The grade school is a little bit less, but that's because we'll actually go through those walls. But we're now seeing quite a few more devices just attached to the network now, just between all the phones that are connected, computers, just random network devices. The weight room doors is its own network device that's connected. So I can sometimes see up to 400 things connected to our network at a time. So now we're talking about 1 to many devices, and that's not even including all the student things that would be connected if they could be. And then that a good portion of these network upgrades we did through the program called E-Rate. You actually pay into that fund through your phone bill. You'll see that as a universal service fee, and it's $1 or $2, but it goes into a federal fund that then comes back to schools and pays based on the reduced rates. So in the past, it's been up to 80% of the cost being subsidized by that, whatever we did. So it's pretty significant. And then I'd also like to note that all your emails are public. A little while ago, OPI had a lot of them scraped, and so we had various messages get sent out, but they're public, and so if you report them as spam or phishing on your site, it'll actually send me a report, and so say you got one, it will send me the report, and I can actually do a scan to just see, did anybody else get a copy of that one? And I can block it or just make a note of that, so that way we can keep that vigilance a little bit up, just as we didn't click on the link, somebody else might. And any sort of way they can get in. And it may not, since you're looking at it on personal computers, usually it will affect your personal computer, school network. But just a note on that, in the future, as I find a way to do it, I might send my own phishing emails just to see how good you guys are.
Thank you.
Question for you, Branson.
Sure,
Can trustees get a Chromebook?
if they would like.
If not, just for like checking emails, school board emails, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I will interject on there. It's a tricky balance on this one that if you have email on your phone, it has gone every direction. So you're checking email, your school email on your phone. You're like, it's my private phone. Then is my phone public record? It's kind of a mess. So I would feel better for all things. Text message is a little different. But yeah, having a Chromebook in your guys' hands or for that, then it just gives you a layer that you don't have to worry about.
I would definitely like one if that's an option. Thank you.
Thank you, Branson. Custodial doesn't look like they have anything to report. It's way smoothly. Clerk and finance.
Yeah, so we'll go to the bottom first because Misty had her baby, and so Eric has been covering, and Misty's been posting pictures, and she's enjoying her time with her wonderful newborn. And Brittany had her baby over the weekend.
Oh, she did.
Brooks is its name, and it is like 27 pounds. No, it's 9 pounds, 9 ounces.
Oh, wow.
8, yeah, it is. It's ready to play football next year. But hopefully, and she's everybody's doing well,
So,
and that.
Brooke is a boy?
Yeah, it is a boy.
Brooks.
Yeah, so that's good. So we finally, this whole IRS thing has been kind of an interesting mess. That we received a phone call from the IRS saying that we will need to start making our payments. They've done everything on their side. So we contacted, the payments for that are about $55,000. So we reached out to the School Boards Association and didn't get a very clear response. So we also reached out to Felt Martin and just said, is there any information if we had to hire you or whatnot, would this look like to fight this? We got a response back from Felt Martin saying, yeah, it's dealing with the government is dealing with the government. And if you just got the response yesterday, actually, but the response said, doesn't matter if you win or lose, you are always going to be paying penalties. And so every day that goes, not every day, but every month that goes by, you pay the penalty. And if you win, they never take the penalty off. And so their advice was to pay some of the portion under protest and then submit Form 843 and request abatement and challenge that. This is probably one of the most frustrating things because we have checks that have gone through. Yes, we did not send it certified, but they had checks that went through. We have money that we don't have anymore, and yet somehow we're being penalized for this. So this is a conversation that's ongoing because we like I said, we just got that today, and I didn't have a chance to. Brittany needs to worry about what Brittany's doing right now, and then I will follow up on that to see. But it looks like we're kind of caught in a spot where we're going to pay and then hopefully get our money back without paying any more losing any more in penalties. Again, on our side, my biggest concern is what ensures that we don't have this ever happen again. And so we can't change anything back to 2019, but from a couple months ago forward, we know we're doing everything we can as far as everything we're sending is certified. Everything we're doing is documented so that, I mean, the fact we can't send things electronically is they take the money electronically, but they don't. But we're doing those things to try to make sure that the district never gets caught in a situation where they're saying you did or you didn't, and we're fighting with them. We can pull up just exactly what they need from us to do that. But not a great thing. But then we started thinking about it. My conversation actually specifically with the attorney is targeting what's the best case scenario? Okay. What's the best case scenario? Is it going to get cut in half? Is it going to get, possibly all erased? Or what is our best? Because then we have to start weighing, okay, what is our best case scenario versus what we're going to pay an attorney? And so when I have that information, when we have that locked down, I'll share that, because that's going to be the deciding factor on which direction we go. I mean, if we're going to spend $50,000 in attorney fees, then you go, oh, great, we can say we won and we saved ourselves $5,000. But that's the answer I need to have clarified before we can make a decision.
Getting really good at calling the public comment in one spot. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Public comment? Public comment? None, will move to old business. MOU for incentives.
Okay, so last month we talked about trying to put a retirement resignation piece so we could be out in front for our teacher hirings. We worked out the MOU with the Ekalaka Teachers Association. The one piece I want to point out right now, because I actually asked for clarification on it myself to make sure. If the purpose of this, the memorandum of understanding is entered into by and between the Ekalaka Public Schools Board of Trustees and the Ekalaka Teachers Association, if you go down to the next piece, the eligibility, the incentive program is available to all who are in the Ekalaka Teachers Bargaining Unit. Every teacher is in that. Okay, so for a point of clarification, whether they're in the union, in the association, or not in the association, that is the bargaining unit. And so they all, it doesn't, any teacher that's in that, any teacher that we have would qualify for that. So just as a point of clarification, if there was. So nothing overly, we discussed some things with Valerie and the union about how they wanted it paid out, in trying to not make it a tax burden on anybody involved as far as the teachers. And so everything there is stated that if it's by December 1st, it would be $1,000 in their December 2024. If it's by January 2nd, it will be by 2025. Big piece, meaning the other piece in there, that they do have 7 days. They are thinking about it, and they put it in there, and they're like, no, I'm not gonna. They do have 7 days to withdraw that as well. So
So when it talks about the 7 calendar days, it doesn't say anything in here that they won't receive the payment. And so I don't know if that needs to be specifically spelled out in this. It just says a resignation. And it doesn't say that they won't receive $1,000 or $500. So just a bit concerned about that.
State that it would be paid after the 7th meeting.
Yeah, yeah. Or not, it would. Yeah, I mean, that needs to be something.
Okay.
That's just what I had. And I have another question. if that's
Can you say that again?
So it says that, you know, they have 7 calendar days to take back their resignation,
Right.
but it doesn't say that we won't pay them. I mean, I know it kind of makes sense, but if it's not in here,
So if somebody said they were gonna resign, we pay them the next day, and 2 days later, they said, oh, just kidding, I don't want to.
Okay,
yeah,
I get you.
how do you take
I
that
get
back?
you.
Well,
I
but
get
they have to have it in by the 1st. Paychecks go out on the 15th.
Right.
They have to have it in by the 2nd. Paychecks go out by the 15th. So
So they
That
wouldn't
period's
get it.
over.
either way, I don't know that we have to change the wording on that, just because that 7-day window locks us into when their payday is.
Okay, that makes more sense. I didn't-
Thank you.
And then I have one more question. And I don't know exactly what fund everything's going to come out of, but now that we also owe the IRS $55,000, and then we're looking at these incentives, and then there's something further on the agenda about the high school, like where are we sitting budget wise with kind of that
So,
IRS? So we don't go.
Correct. The roof will be a total different piece
Okay, that's
of that puzzle.
Okay.
We have, the fund for our IRS stuff has already been essentially set aside.
Okay.
And I'm not going to tell you the number because I don't know the number on that
Sure.
one. Brittany will probably be texting me because she's probably watching and not just being a mom. But, and then we have our reserve fund that are just our general reserve. And I mean, we're not expecting 19 teachers to resign. I'm hoping, not, but just if there's 1 or 5 or whatnot, then we know. So
So that money is there.
Yeah. it is in our reserve fund, for this.
There's another school that does something similar to this. I can't remember which one it was.
Well,
Is it?
and that I don't know. I mean, lots of school. I mean, and it's going to be. I sat in a meeting today, and one of the school districts right inside of Missoula, outside of Missoula, they're on the process of building houses, and they're building 10,000 houses, and so they're like, yeah, we're going to be calling your schools, recruiting your teachers, and I was like, it was kind of a jerk statement, but that's the truth. That's the truth. So I want to have conversations with the teachers I can get to recruit and hopefully stay here and be part of our community. So,
Is there any other board discussion? Is there any public comment?
So I just got a text saying that it's really difficult to release it and PA was not.
I don't really have a voice, so that probably doesn't help. So I'm sorry.
Speak up, Lisa.
Is there any public comment? Any other board discussion or motion?
I'll move to approve the early teacher incentive as presented for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second that.
Mike has moved to approve the early
Other board comment?
I have a question, yes. Comment question, has this MOU been ran through the attorney?
It has been our attorney, or
Just
um,
school attorney?
it started with us, then went to the union, and once if this is approved, then the Equal Active Teachers Association has to approve it. They have to vote on it.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Mike's made the motion to move or to approve the early teacher incentive as presented for the 24-25 school year only. Dave has seconded that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Move on to new business. Policy 4330. Mr. Kathy?
So just the change of fees to, people are using our gym for profit. Our teachers, our coaches, that's different if they're using it to have basketball practice or things that are school ran. But if there is, for example, the bazaar coming up, the fees to clean it, maintain it, all of that have gone up, and we have not updated those costs. And so that is what the fees have changed. The key fobs, which are different than the cards we use. The key fobs are fobs. And the cost to replace those, all of those things are, they've all gone up. And so just to make sure that we're in a spot that we're covering our costs if there's an event here or somebody loses their key. No.
Yeah, the question, is this just for like a business or somebody that uses it more than once?
It's for somebody that is not a school affiliated organization. So, so like the challenge here is if I don't know, Michael Jordan's basketball wanted to come in and do a camp here and they're running it for profit.
Yeah.
If our coaches are doing a basketball camp.
Sure. Okay.
Public comment?
I was just curious, what if it's a nonprofit that's
Because of the cost includes the replacement of the equipment, all that stuff, then depending on what you're using, then yes, you're going to rent specifically what you're using. And so it would.
For future, will you step to the mic and speak so those watching live can hear too, please? Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any other board discussion?
So part of the funeral fee for that a funeral people would pay would be that, because there is the cleanup fee. So when you look at like that, again, we kind of go back. The school's not going to make up a lot of this. Cover the cost of cleaning it, getting it back to work. Use for school.
Okay, in a minute, I'll. Any other board discussion or motions?
I'll move to approve the changes policy 4,330 as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Stefan has moved to approve the changes of policy 4330F as presented. Sam has seconded the motion. Is there any public comment?
I just want to say that Sagebrush Service Club puts on the Community Bazaar, and that's one of the few organizations that says come use your gym facility. When we do that, several high school groups have booths there, whether it be your FFA selling fruit or your FCCLA doing a babysitting group, or there's just several different ones that come do these. We are a nonprofit organization, and all of our money is given right back to the community, to families in need. And so I just know that we don't have the money to put up front to reserve the gym or to do, and we always clean up afterwards. There are several teachers in the organization, and so we always clean up afterwards. We even mop the onion skin, the whole shebang. And so when you have a blanket kind of policy like this, then you're going to lose the bazaar at our high school. You're going to lose the bazaar for our community because we will not be able to host it if it's out of our financial reach. Just that I would put that out there. So there might be some considerations to think about when you put a policy like this in place.
Thank you. Branson?
I just want to make a minor comment. That's the most of this language is all in policy, like for the fee structure. And it's actually just the costs themselves. For damage loss to those things.
Thank you.
I guess my own question is, if this policy was in place, then obviously the state price was not paying,
No, we would have
so it was a lot. So
I just want to make sure that.
I would say that this is based on those outcomes. This is worth a longer discussion on tonight to make sure we are not putting ourselves in a spot where not treating groups fairly, considering the right structure to make sure that we can use it without it. The golden rule is that you have a policy. If we're not enforcing the policy, then we're setting ourselves up for bad things. But then we also have to be able to address our local groups. I would say I would feel very comfortable having a little bit more time to dig into just past the FOB, get a better.
Is there any other board discussion?
I think it would be good to put on an agenda at a future meeting just to review the policy itself or this agreement.
I agree. Stefan has made the motion to approve the changes of policy 4330F as presented. Sam has seconded it. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion failed. High school roof report. Mr. Capty?
All right. Let's start with the easy. High school, what we have currently was through quality research by Branson.
Mr. Capty, can I interrupt, please?
Do we have?
So that motion just fails and it's just done and something else can be brought back at a later date, correct?
Okay. I just want to make sure we didn't need to table that until we got more information. Thank you.
Good.
So in 1992, the current roof was placed on the high school. It has done amazingly well with, as we've started to repair it over the last few years. The big piece of this puzzle is we had McKin Street in to look at a roof in 2003. they evaluated the roof. But they looked at how the airflow goes through. So Stephanie was there. Nobody else was. Oh, yeah, okay. So we had 2 board members in that meeting where they talked through that, and they talked about how the airflow comes in. We do not have any we don't have any recirculation of air in these rooms. Open the windows, that's how you get fresh air. You built the building today, it would make code if you have to do that. So they came back and walked through the building. That was a virtual meeting. They were honored to have Ty, Southeast Electric there, as well as Arnold, and myself, Francis was there. They came back and walked through the building and crawled up in the attic again and looked at kind of the structure that they brought their mechanical guy with them. And to be able to do what we need to do, they need to kind of come in and spend a week going through everything in the building to look at all of our vents, all of those pieces, and to do kind of their breakdown of exactly what this might cost us to do this. So, unfortunately, none of those things are, so to have them come in and do a full analysis is going to be, we were quoted at $39,000. $39,954. Okay. What that does is it gives us a perfect script of what we need to do. We need to replace this, we need to do this, this. Now, part of my conversation, part of my understanding, discussions with community when I first arrived, and those things were, as I've already told the board before, they said, and they joked about it in a way, but they said if you need a new roof, you need to put a bond out there that you need a new roof, and we'll pass it. But there can't be any greater. Fair enough. So we could try to pass the bond with an estimate. Our best guess, with a generalized guess. Will it pass? Will it not pass? I don't know. Would I feel better about putting a bond potentially out there with every detail covered with as little of gray area as we possibly can have? Absolutely. That $39,000 will be put back into the bond, and so we'll go back into our building reserves, provided we pass it. This is something it's not a matter of if we do this, it's a matter of when we're going to commit to it. Because if we did this tonight, and they came down here, and they were here before here, and they brought us that proposal, and we had time to look through it in January, and we could get approval for a bond in February. That means we can put the bond out when we do elections in May. That puts us a year out. Okay, all of our costs are locked in at that point. That puts us a year out. So the following summer, like 27. Yeah, no, summer of 26. Because obviously we're not going to replace the road and do all that work. If we don't, then let's say we wait till next year to do this, then we're looking again, pretty much, whenever we jump down this path, we're looking at least a 2-year window out to make it happen. So anything that happens between then and now is money that we absolutely are going with. I mean, if we're patching a roof, we're fixing pipes, we're doing whatever we need to do just to survive. We're not investing in the structure of our building. They specifically talked about when they climb through, they use a lot of funny words. Isn't insulated. The roof is basically like a vinyl skin, so you have no insulation there. Because of the way the air, cold air trapped in there. I mean, there was a lot as they talked through it. And I'm like, okay, we need a better better piece of this. Part of the bond process will also be how much money are we losing every month once it actually gets cold in heating, because our building is not very efficient. And my example was, think about your house. If you ran the heat in your bedroom and you tried to heat your whole house with that and put fans going out the door and a couple different fans, different directions to try to push the heat throughout your house, that's kind of the system we're running right now. And so are we going to still have to pay heating bills when the roof's done? Yes. But are we going to have to pay less, and over time, are we not just literally burning money? Absolutely. And then that money is reusable in your general fund and those things. So we're at a point where we need the study to be done, whether it's today, whether it's a year from now. If we don't, the sooner we get it done, we can talk about what the overall cost is going to be to put in, essentially put in a new roof and put in an HVAC system for the high school.
Is there any more discussion?
I don't know if it was discussed the last time when we had that virtual discussion with him, but I know when he was here the year before, he talked about History helping run the bonding process. Is that still
Absolutely.
a plan? Because especially with, coming up in these couple of months, basically, when we got to really start promoting a bond that without Brittany, who knows more about it than most everybody else here, being here, it'd be nice to have History's help.
And that, I mean, they've been super helpful, and there's not really, I mean, the beauty of the system is they're the education experts in Montana. And so they're the ones that help the schools, from the bond, from the doing it side. The other piece of that is, part of this process is setting up that they will manage, when we get to that point, they will manage the work being done. We have final say, but they manage it. So they have a project manager on site. So you don't have to have me or Stefan or Reno walking around checking to make sure the insulation or whatnot is being done right. We have people on site that are doing that. That's part of that process, so that it's done right.
So, like the assessment they did last August, and in here, this doesn't give us a good enough idea of what needs to be done.
It gives us a fair idea, but it's only the roof. They didn't look at any of the ventilation.
Okay, that's the difference. Thank you.
I guess I was wondering about the cost of things, like right now, building supplies are like at an all-time high. Are they gonna less or more, or which direction will they go?
So once we bond it, and once it goes through, then they will lock in the prices. So there's a moment of variability, but once you lock it in, then they're locked in. The construction companies that bid it, they're locked into those prices. So it puts us in a good spot, versus, being caught all of a sudden, price of something goes up, you're under by $100,000.
It's hard to think about a $40,000 gamble. But
You're right.
I get it. I mean, it's like the old house I live in. If we don't put money into it, it's not gonna last.
Yeah. I would agree. We've talked, at several meetings, just about like keeping like what we have, and maintaining that. And that's been an important, at least me. Keep an eye on that. So, but I get it. I was like, 39,000 is a lot of money. And then if they're, if we don't get the bond, then that's just. Just a lot to think about.
for sure. I mean, I will speak for myself, and I keep joking about the trifold poster board. But once I have the information, I will, I need that information because that's the conversation I need to have. I need to go set up down at BJ's on the southern end, and anybody that walks in, I'm going to talk to them about why we're asking for this bond, and go to Fruits and go downtown, and they're like, oh my God, here he is with that trifold thing again. But I need that point to really make it clear, because again, I mean, if there's truth in the statements or the opinions, that if you tell us what you need, we will do it. But we're not going to just give you money to. So I want there to be no doubt.
And as far as the shape of the rest of the building, like, there's no real issues.
None that have came out, not that we know of. The addition built out here had created its own wind structure. It's kind of interesting because you get like a wind tunnel effect. But other than that, our building's in good shape. So that's been. But you start to look at like our heating system here, and I think all of you that went to school here, but myself, being in the classroom, thinking about that our heating system is exactly the same as it was, and how inefficient that really is, and how much more efficient again will be saves wear and tear on our building. You're not dealing with water damage, you're not dealing with those kind of things.
I don't know if everybody remembers where this all started, but when we put this on, like Kathy was saying, the wind tunnel effect was coming up through the vented soffit, doing tiles up, opening doors, and it was making it costing us $40,000 a year just to keep the high school. And that's where this all started. When you look at the roof, and like, oh, you got a roof that's designed for 20-year life, and it's a 52 years. Oh, surprised it's still there. So that's where all this is like, oh, you gotta have a air circulation, fresh air circulation. It's just.
And these guys were part of it, so for your talk about with Southeast Electric, as far as looking at alternative, they're not, put solar panels up, is there? And the general opinion of that said, sure, we have lots of land for solar panels, but our roof probably isn't the best option. Literally, we have places we can put them if we chose to go down that path. And that's a whole separate conversation, but our roof really is a great spot for them, unless we are just piles of money and wanted to do it.
Is there any public comment? Public comment? Is there any other board discussion or motion?
I will move to approve the mechanical evaluation for McKinnon Street.
Stefan has moved to approve the mechanical evaluation for McKinnon for the high school roof project, and Dave has seconded it. Is there any public comment? Public comment? Board comment? Stefan has moved to approve the mechanical evaluation for McKinnon for the high school roof project. Dave seconded it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. To policy change. Policy update for 2410.
Okay, so we'd like the board to review early graduation. It was removed from our policy, but we would like to include it again. As we continue to look at kids that are coming at us in different ways. If a student is exceptionally motivated and we kind of handicap ourselves by doing this because a kid could go homeschool and graduate early without us ever being able to help them. And so we still have final say over it. Board still has final say over it. Those kind of things. But it's a viable option. And if a student is headed down that direction, it's worth a discussion without it being already predetermined.
Is there any board discussion?
So would this be for potential for the school year or the first?
It could be, we have a student that is on the bubble. And so it could be an option that would come in front for that one student. Outside of that, that's the only student that has been brought to my attention. So.
Thank you.
You probably have no idea if I can hear the
I don't. I would return to the.
Well,
Revised on
23.
April of 23, so we went through a lot of these policies.
But that doesn't necessarily
Mean that we remove that,
was
right?
changed.
I would potentially throw out there that one of the reasons that if you're locked into seat time for your funding, schools tried to limit that because if you graduate early, you lost a year of you being a paycheck to our school. So schools did try to limit that. And so the state is still trying to figure out what it looks like with competency based and those things. But I would guess that probably played in why did it? Because that'd be pretty similar to a lot of schools.
Eventually going to change the way we calculate the AP, especially when pushing these so cranking kids do really fast, you're not the rest of the preschool.
Well, and two parts to that. So that's a great point. So part of the conversation for the decennial study that they're really working on to get the legislature behind is creating a minimum for classes and then making it per teacher. That's how schools are funded. Instead of, okay, you have 100 students, you lose 5 kids. Because if you're a small school and you lose 5 kids, that's a big deal. And so now you're not going to have a second grade or fourth grade or 8th grade class because you lost. So they're saying, okay, you're going to have an 8th grade class. We're going to fund you at at a class. And then above that, as long as there's 7 kids in the class, say, yeah, we're going to have 8th grade with just 1. So they're looking at changing it, taking it away from just EB, which is good. The second piece of that is they're pushing, which I think I do think is productive and very helpful to think about school outside of just taking our core classes, our math, our science, and looking at, are we preparing kids for entering the workforce? And so if you were changing the funding model and the kids coming through and say they're only taking 1 class as a senior, but they're doing internship at Southeast Electric or at the bank or for the meat processing or vet clinic, and they're working on getting certifications that can apply to if they go to junior college or college or whatever. That's where the momentum is pushing us, which mean, if we get, I don't want to say truly busy work, but if we get those core blocks done, then we can help kids explore before it costs them money to go out into the real world and be like, I'm gonna go to college. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, and now they're, extrovert all or something. So there is a movement to go that way, for sure.
Is there any public comment?
What are just, how do you do 4 years of English?
You can do it,
That's pretty much.
you can do it in school and online to get a credit.
Or you could also take,
We're gonna look at credit for 4 years of English.
so if you took junior English, oh, yeah. Just yell, no. If you took junior English, we took junior English and you already had covered your electives and took senior English right behind it in the Bay, it still counts as 4 years of.
Any other public comment? Any board discussion or motion?
It's just information.
Oh, just kidding. This is just informational. Next, we consent agenda, and I'd like to throw the lawyer use separate ahead of it. Do you want to touch on that, Mr. Tanky?
I gotta get to the right page here.
It was an add-on. Do you want mine? Pass that to him. Stephanie and I can share if you want.
That one? Got it. Oh, all right, gotcha. So this is going back to our board policy that we have contract with the School Board Association. And this, I don't know, how would I best describe it? Maybe like a warranty. To buy a warranty, and it covers X, Y, and Z, but if you need A, B, and C, you got to pay extra because it's not covered by the warranty. So the School Board Association covers kind of general things. So when we sent the tax stuff to them, we sent all of that to them. We said, what can you tell us with it? And they said, well, you're going to need more than we offer outside our warranty. So you can pay a retainer. And then we were like, do you have any idea what this would be? And they were like, well, I mean, at that point, they didn't have a definitive answer, which when you're dealing with the government, I'm not sure you can have a definitive answer on how long it might take. So this is to give us a chance to go deeper with our outside attorneys to get help with that if we choose to go that way. Once we get the actual estimate, like, do we think we can get our money back? Do we think we can come out 5,000, 10,000, 20,000? What can we come out ahead, and is it worth it? So we're just asking to go a little bit deeper with them because what they gave us was free of charge, but any more detailed information we have to pay for it.
Like you said, with MTSBA, I think it's anything that takes them over an hour, then that's when it's no longer part of the fees you already pay.
And if they're truly like diving into something that's not, I guess what I say normal, then they go, oh yeah, you're gonna have to pay us a little extra, which I get it.
And who are you thinking of sending it to?
We would probably go with Felt Martin, just because they looked at it. I mean, they gave us a response. If, like I said, I honestly couldn't tell you at this point. I don't know that we'll need it. I just don't know until we get an idea of what it's going to cost us. Because, I mean, 1 week's worth of time would almost erase what we might get back from. So I need a little bit more clear cut. This is what we think we can do in this amount of time, and we think we can get you $25,000 So, and that's, I don't know, I just don't feel like we're gonna actually need it, unless they give me a better answer.
Any other board discussion? Any public comment? Public comment? Any other board discussion or motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
We're doing this one separate from consent agenda.
Okay, I'll move to approve the use of lawyers.
I'll second that.
Mike has moved to approve the use of lawyers. And Stefan has seconded it. Is there any public comment? Public comment? Any other board comment? Mike's moved to approve the use of lawyers. Stefan has seconded it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on to the consent agenda. Is there any board discussion? Sorry, I thought I wrote something down, but I can't find it. Oh, just the little one. Time clock plus license overage. Seems like that may have been explained before, but I'm not sure. It is on page 10.
License, 1732.
Yes,
Second line item.
Brittany explained that at the last meeting before, like it's cheaper to pay what we have.
Oh, yeah,
Pay the
yeah,
overage instead of paying for like a higher
I remember that now.
prescription. Whatever it is.
Thanks, Stefan. Is there any public comment? Public comment? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Sam has moved to approve the consent agenda as presented and Rena seconded it. Is there any public comment? Public comment? Board discussion? Sam has moved to approve the consent agenda and Rena has seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Stefan's job.
Oh.
It's all over.
Sorry. We vote. We need to
To adjourn the meeting?
vote. I couldn't remember.
No.
Meeting's adjourned.
I will grab those checklist sheets on.
I'm sorry. I was trying to play.
Okay, I